The following program paid for by Rosenberg Financial Group. Providing live finance advice since 1993. It's time for Your Money with Sherri Goss, Randy Goss, and Becca Wilton. To participate in today's program, call 478-742-0940 with your financial questions and comments. And now, live from the Macon studios of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's Your Money.
Yay, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Saturday. Welcome to Your Money. Sherri Goss and Becca Wilton with Rosenberg Financial Group are here to take your phone calls. So the main thing we do, so if Randy has us doing a script, and I'm really having a hard time following the script, but here it is. The main thing we do as financial advisors is provide retirement planning advice and manage our clients' investment accounts. We have offices in Macon and Warner Robins, and you can learn more about us by visiting our website, retirerelax.com, where you can read a number of special reports, listen to recordings of past radio shows. The number to call in today, 478-742-0940. We might be having some technical difficulties, so if you can't get through on the phone, email Becca, Becca, at rfmoney.com if you have a question. So let's take a look at what is going on in the world. So the first thing, so I skipped a market update because things really haven't changed, so we're going to get right to the meat of the show. But before that, I'll just mention something. Randy and I went out to dinner with Steve and Nancy last night because it was Nancy's birthday. And if you live in Warner Robins and you have not eaten at Props restaurant, you are missing it. Unreal.
Was it very busy?
It was packed with a waiting line. Totally packed. You had to have a reservation. Raw oysters were amazing. The shrimp pasta was amazing. I mean, the service was a little slow because they were so packed, but the food was really incredible for Warner Robins. I'm sorry, it is what it is. So I had a call this week from a guy, and he says, okay, I have a lake house, and I own it with me and my two sisters have all paid a third of the bills for this place. And it's a lease lot on Lake Sinclair. So he is on the mortgage. He's the only name on the mortgage. And he was trying to figure out what to do with that because when one of them dies, they want their share to go to their beneficiaries. So do you want to talk about this from your banking background? I mean,
Sure.
you have more background in this than I do.
Yeah, I did mortgage lending, so we ran into some unique situations sometimes. So if you're joint with rights of survivorship, which is what we see most often because we see a husband and wife or
right.
Maybe even a parent and their child, then whenever the person dies, the rest of the survivorship, the ownership goes to the other person. So if this guy was to put his two sisters on there, then as the three of them die,
joint
one
tenant
by
with right
one,
of survivorship.
Right. If they did it that way, then it would just all go to whoever's left. So they want to do tenants in common, and with tenants in common, it goes to your estate or your surviving legacy. So the three of them want to be on the title with tenants in common, all three of them, and then I think maybe even somewhere they could have it written out, but usually it would just be considered it would be a third, a third, a third, and then through their will, it'll say who their estate, their beneficiaries are, and it'll go to them. But this article you printed out on the back, there was about beneficiary deeds. I have never heard of that.
I didn't even see it.
The super nerd in me last night was like, this is so cool. But the problem is, so it's a TOD deed, just like, and it would be outside of probate, and so it's revocable and becomes effective upon death of the grantor. So just like a regular TOD type of account. So it's not legal until you've passed away or the second spouse dies, and then it would just go to the kids or whoever you have on the deed, and you have it recorded at the courthouse and all that. But according to the article, it was only like about half the states that actually acknowledge this. And so, unfortunately, when I looked up the states, none of the states that are around us are really eligible, so that's probably not heard of it. But for my family and friends in Indiana and Illinois, they are valid. So
interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, this would be great because say you and Randy wanted to leave it to your two kids. If that's what you want to do, then you could do a beneficiary deed, and whoever the last one of you two to pass away, then that deed would come into effect, like spring into effect, and then the two kids would be the beneficiaries. So guess the moral would be to find those states. I think it was like Maine and like North Dakota, and buy your vacation home there, or Indiana, so you can do the transfer with that. But none of the states around here, like the Carolinas or, you know, the places we see our clients, Florida, that kind of Alabama, are not covered.
So here's how things work. Just an example so that you can think about this. So my dad owned a lake house. He passed away, and he left 5 of us kids in his will to inherit this lake house. We were able to put the house on the market, move the house into all of our names, put the house on the market, sell it, and because it gets a step-up in basis to date of death value, we sold it. Each got 1/5 of the money and paid no taxes on it. And I constantly run into people that don't understand this concept. They don't realize, they think they're going to pay taxes on what they've inherited, and you don't. It's one of the last good things that's left in the tax laws. The other thing that I would recommend, if you have a giant parcel of land, so here's another example, another story. So I had a lady come see me years ago, and her grandmother died, and in her will she left 40 acres to 12 grandchildren. And there's a house in the middle of it. So 12 grandchildren own 40 acres, undivided,
wow.
with one of the grandchildren living in it rent-free. They had never paid rent, and there's a road on one side of the land. And so that piece of land is worth more because there's actually a road where you can access the property. The stuff in the back you can't even get to. So half of the people pay taxes, half of them don't pay. It's a total pain. Everyone hates it. Everyone's angry. Don't do that to your kids.
I've seen several instances of that where the grandma and grandpa buy land. Sometimes it's farmland. Sometimes they plan on building something there. And just like you said, I have a friend, and her parents had 2 or 3 different parcels. And one parcel they left to like the 2 kids to split. Another one they left to a different kid. And that kid didn't want to, move down there or whatever.
Right.
And trying to figure out the values. But just like you said with my friend, it was happened to be parceled off, but half of it had like a building and the road, and the other side was just like the timber, and you couldn't even get to it. So who wants that side of it? The other side is definitely more valuable.
Unless the timber's worth something.
No, that's true.
You cut the timber. But it just, man, don't do this to people. Talk about it. Like my dad basically said, you can sell everything when I'm gone, and that's what we did. We just sold off everything and got rid of it, and everybody took the cash and walked away, and somebody else took the land over because none of us wanted it because none of us were near it. And so think about...
And so, like, in that situation, that grandchild that's been living there should pay the other ones or maybe buy all the other grandkids out.
At least be paying the taxes.
Right. But they probably don't have the money to buy everybody out.
Right.
So those are the kind of things you need to talk about as a family. And I think there are probably a lot of those situations where someone bought land years and years ago and no one really talks about it. And then once they've passed away, then it kind of becomes a problem.
I think
See an attorney and have your lands parceled off.
Or come and see us and talk about it. Really, we can talk through this estate planning stuff. We are not lawyers, but to just talk about the concept of where your money's going to go and where your stuff is going to go and who should get what, or should you just donate it to a charity. I used to be on the Methodist Foundation board, and it was interesting to me the number of people that donate their property to the Methodist Foundation board for the benefit of the Methodist home, because they can take over the property, rent it out or sell it, take the money, put it into the trust fund for the Methodist Foundation, and then it pays out 4% a year to fund the foundation center where they house homeless
it's awesome.
Like all these people that need help and support. And so you could do something really good with a charity instead of just dumping it on people that don't even know what to do with it.
Absolutely.
Anyways.
There's just a lot of situations like that. Like Sherri said, come talk to us. We do complimentary consultations. You can just call, set up an appointment. We have a lot of people that have very unique situations and come to us. And, we have some couples that we have some widows and widowers that have been clients that have maybe gotten remarried. And we get questions about, trying to combine their finances again. People go through a lot of different life changes, and there's a lot of different, things to consider. And we had an article about some joint accounts, and we see this a lot where a parent will put their child on a bank account, and that's often a good idea as long as you trust your kid. They're not going to wipe out your bank account. Maybe, hopefully, they're in a different state. But, sometimes maybe it's just a mother that's left and she has 1 or 2 children and nobody's around to take care of her. But if something happens and she goes in the hospital, there's nobody that's going to have access to her money to be able to pay her bills, maybe feed the dog and the cat. You hope somebody would step up, but
need a plan.
Put somebody on your bank account that way, and then there's somebody that can help and get to the money and take care of your stuff if you couldn't.
So the next article we had was about teaching women to embrace risk. So it's interesting that women have a different risk tolerance than men. And I'll give you a really good example, and then I'll let you take it from there. So husband and wife come to see me. He's retiring from the base. She has never worked, so she has no Social Security. She's going to be dependent on him completely. She stayed home. She raised the kids, and they come to see me. And he said, he's retiring from the base, so he's going to have a pension. And he says, I want to take the full 100% under my name pension option so that I get the max amount. And I look at her and I say, okay, so he dies, it's gone. It's gone. What do you think about that? And she says, I don't know. He makes all the financial decisions.
That's just crazy.
And I looked at him. I just about had I mean, I'm like, really? Seriously? I said, you've got to think about her. What's going to happen to her if you take 100% pension and you die and she has nothing but a tiny Social Security check? And he said, I'll just let her figure that out. That was his response.
And that's horrible. She was in the room. It's one thing when people are bad enough behind people's backs, but
I'm looking at her and she's like, whatever he chooses is good. No.
Oh my gosh, stand up for yourself.
So I sat for an hour trying to get this right, and I couldn't get it right. I don't even know why they came to see me, because it was no point, because he already had made up his mind that women have to stand up for themselves and make sure, first of all, understand how stuff works, understand how the bills are being paid, understand cash flow, get involved in all the finances of the household, because you're likely going to live longer than your husband, and it's going to be on you. And so you've got to step up. But there's a whole.
Do they have any kids?
The kids are grown and gone.
Well, she may have to live with one of those kids, so hopefully she has a good relationship with them. She shouldn't have any money.
Anyways.
But, yeah, like you said, and, you know, as we get older, things get harder to understand and comprehend. So, you know, if you wait till you have to learn this stuff and you're, 80, it might be a lot harder to learn.
Right.
So learn it now.
Yes.
We'd be happy to, we do educational seminars. We'd be happy to, go over just some basic information. And don't be embarrassed if it's, you don't have any idea about how any of the finances work. We'd be happy to go over and teach you what you need to learn. But we have this article about teaching women investors to embrace risk. And it says, by nature, women tend to be caring and careful, but the same tendencies that prompt them to nurture and protect their families may result in some women sabotaging their own retirement preparedness. I can't speak well.
I agree with this article.
Yeah, it's just amazing. So you have all the women that left the workforce during the pandemic because of closed schools, daycare centers that were closed, and so they had to stay home and take care of kids. And so they're not even able to contribute to a retirement plan or, even make money at that point. But it just is, women are just the way we were, I guess kind of brought up. It's just that whole nature versus nurture thing. And I don't know if women think it's taking advantage of something and that's why they don't do it. But there's just all sorts of interesting, it says women have made great strides in education and employment over the last 50 years, but still lag behind men in terms of income and assets. Women have outpaced men in post-secondary enrollment and education attainment since the 1980s, but still earn about 80 cents for every dollar a man earns on average. So not only do the lower lifetime earnings make it harder for a woman to save for retirement, but then on top of that, if they are taking time off to stay home with their kids, then they're going to lose out on having money at that point to invest. And then if they're investing at a lower risk, they're going to have less money at when they're ready to retire. But it says the typical female caregiver loses more than $324,000 over her lifetime as a result of lost wages. And I have several clients that the wife stayed home to take care of her parents. I have one situation where a husband and wife, she quit her job, and he was making a little bit more than her, but still she was contributing quite a bit to the household. His mom got sick. They moved his mom in, and she quit her job. And now she doesn't have any money going to a 401k. And
my mother-in-law quit, and she took care of her parents, his parents, all of the parents. She did all of the caregiving for all four parents for 10 years. She did all of it for the entire family.
And
no one else
about the
stepped
wear and
up.
tear on that. Like this
exhausting.
lady, she takes care of her own parents too. They're still living alone, but she still has to go take care of them a lot. So you just have all these different issues that play into it. But like we said, women are likely to live longer, so they're going to need more money for the term of their life. Almost 69% of women take an average or below risk with their investment, while over half of men take above average risk with investing. So women need to understand that being too cautious with their investments can be the greatest risk of all, particularly as the recent uptick in inflation underscores, and we need to take appropriate investment risk in order to protect future buying power. So if you're in a really something conservative, and I find a lot of my female clients really enjoy having a savings account. If you talk to the husband and wife, usually if they have a big chunk in the savings, the woman's usually really protective of that, and she just feels really safe and comfortable having that. But you look at, you're getting like 0.3% or 0.5% in inflation right now. It's climbing up there. You're never going to keep up with inflation even if you aren't investing. So come and see us. I think a lot of it is just education. When you say that women just are afraid and they don't really understand it, so it's easier just to pick something easy, leave it in the bank. But that's not going to get you set up for retirement.
I just see consistently that they leave it to the guy. The guy makes the decisions and they run the household. And you've got to be partners in this. You've got to be equal partners in everything you're doing. And that's where I've been really fortunate that Randy and I have been partners since day one in financial decisions, construction, property, everything that we've done. We've been 50-50 all the way. And so we've known what each other is doing, and we've known everything what's going on. So that helps a lot.
We have a call. All right.
Yay. Good morning.
I don't think you have to push the button again. I think it's, if you push on the board, the red button on the board. Nope, I think it's.
Technical difficulties.
Good morning. Hello, are you there?
Oh, yes, I can barely hear you, but I hope you can hear me.
Good morning.
Can you hear me better now?
There you go.
That's much better. This is much better. This is Robin Jackson out of Perry, Georgia. I just want to remind the folks that are 65 and older who are getting Medicare that open enrollment ends on December the 7th. So please do so today if possible, because this Medicare, it automatically get A and B, which is hospitalization and some doctors. But the C and the D is for to help on those 80% that the government will pay, the 20% they will not pay. So the 20% that they will not pay, the C and the D will take care of that in most cases. So open enrollment ends on December the 7th, but please do so today. It's the 800 number that they can call. There are several ones that you can call, but one of them, I go through this kind of slowly, but so they can get it, 800-721-4019. That's 800-721-4019 for those who are getting Medicare and have the A and the B plan, but do not have the C and the D. Do so today. Call the 800 number, and they would be able to enroll into early enrollment. And thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you.
Is that the government number, or is that like an individual carrier?
They have several individual carriers.
Okay, well, we don't want to.
No,
we don't want to
steer people to any carrier. No.
Well, what is it does? It does. It's not in the individual. It is individual carrier.
Stop.
But what it does. Please, I'm ready for them to do this. The individual carrier is not in any specific individual carrier because it's about 20. The carriers, but what they're doing, this is the one who gets.
But unless we've done research on those carriers, we don't want to promote anything. We want to make sure that we know
legally. Stop. Shut them off. Shut them off. Okay, I cannot promote any specific company. If I have not done any research and I don't know anything about that company, we cannot promote that on this radio show. So please do not call in and try to do that sort of thing, because we're the ones that have the liability of what we say on the show. And so you can't call in here and promote something just because you think it's a good idea, because this is not your liability. So if you have Medicare questions, call us. We are not experts, but we will be happy to talk with you about it and guide you in directions. But like Sherri said, we are liable because we're fiduciaries. We're supposed to do what's in our client's best interest. So we have to make sure that we're referring people to people that we vetted and that we know are on the up and up. So we haven't had a chance to vet all of that number. So don't call that number. We aren't sure. But come see us if you have questions. All right. And on those commercials, I get so many calls about those Medicare commercials, at least 1 or 2 calls a week from clients. That number is just so enticing. There's like JJ from, whatever that show was years ago. And there's these famous people up there. And
the clients that, or people that are retired sitting at home just watching TV all day, they get so worked up about it because they're like, you can save hundreds of dollars. You need to call now. Don't call. It's a company that's trying to sell you something. Your best interest is not their best interest. They are not trying to just save you money. They're trying to sell you something. So if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is.
Yeah, I was at the dentist office last week in the dental chair, and they have this stupid TV in the room, which I can't stand, and it was running ads on how you could get Medicaid and Medicare at the same time.
Huh.
I'm like, what?
Oh, we got another call. Good morning. You're on the air with Becca and Sherri.
Good morning.
Good morning out there, guys, and thanks so much for that little bit of information, because like the old saying always said, if it sounds too good to be true, more than likely it is.
Yep.
And people should always remember that when you're dealing with Medicare, you're dealing with the government.
How fun.
And even if there's a third party involved, you're still going to be dealing with the government.
Yes, absolutely.
Although some of your listeners, I won't call any names, people out in Perry, think that that's a wonderful thing to be letting the government run everything for you. 9 million times out of every other time, it isn't.
True statement. Have you ever read Atlas Shrugged?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you have?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, right?
So,
is that the truth or what?
Very much the truth. And if you'll, look around and see what's going on today, especially with the empty suit in the White House, it's happening now.
Yes.
We are living Atlas Shrugged right
Highly recommend
now.
everybody read the book. Good luck finding a copy of it. You'll probably have to go on Amazon. But I've read it twice, and I have a copy sitting on my desk that I need to reread. But it's really the story of a woman who defected from the Soviet Union under Stalin. And she talks about, it's basically a warning to America about communism. And if you read it, it's staggering, some of the things that are similar to what's going on today in our culture, in our economy, in our government, that we just buy into.
We buy into
it, but you're like, yeah, a bunch of dead sheep, a bunch of just dead sheep, right? Blind sheep, just like blindly going, oh, well, that's a good idea. Oh yeah, let's go do that.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, sheep often get herded away, and it's not a good end.
Fall off the edge of the little river.
Yes. So,
anyways.
Thanks a lot. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Bye.
Sorry, I had a little rant there. Okay, life expectancy. So, please do not plan on dying early. Here's a quick story from a client, and then I'll let you take the rest of the article and go with that. But I had a client come to me. So she came over in 2012 with $1.5 million, and we're managing her money, and everything is great. She's debt-free, house is paid for, lake house is paid for, boat's paid for, everything's paid for. Like, they're on pensions, and everything's great. So she comes in 2016, and she sits down, and she goes for a review. She sits down, and she says, I want $500,000. I said, what are you doing? She goes, I'm dying in 2 years, and so I'm going to spend some money. I said, what are you talking about? She goes, I just came from the doctor, and he says I'm going to be dead in 2 years.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's a horrible conversation to have.
Right? And so I said, what's wrong? And she tells me the condition. I said, I think that's reversible. I don't think you're going to have to die from that. I think you can make some changes and correct it. I've read books about fixing that. Oh, well, I don't know. He tells me I'm going to be dead in 2 years, and so I'm going to start spending down all of my money because I might as well enjoy it while I can. And so we fought about this. We had an arm wrestling match for like an hour, and she finally agreed to only take out $100,000. I'm going to get a new boat. I want a new boat. I want $100,000. Okay, fine. Take $100,000. Go get your new boat and do whatever you want. Well, she came in February this year, and guess what? Her condition is gone.
That's awesome. And this has been a lot of years now, too.
Yeah, 2016 to now. Her condition is gone. She is completely healed for a number of reasons. And she didn't spend down all of her money because I kept her from doing it because I didn't believe she was going to be dead in 2 years. Don't spend on your money thinking you're going to be dead. This is a bad idea. So take it away, Becca.
Well, I had a client come in. She was a prospect, and we were talking and trying to figure out, what would be a good plan for her. And she's 69. She says, well, I always figured I'd live to 70. And so,
what?
And I'm like, well,
70.
You're 69 now, so it looks like you're going to hit that. I'm like, well, I'm really glad you haven't spent all your money by now. But I'm like, we need to adjust and make a new life plan. But so many people, I think when you're younger, you get a number in your head of like, maybe 70, 75, 80 or something, or based on a family member. And
yeah,
people
based on family member death. That's what a lot of it is.
With that.
Everybody dies at 80, so I'm going to die at 80. It's probably not going to happen.
Well, and I have a friend, her father passed away early from a heart problem at like 56. And so she's terrified. And I think it makes her live a little more in the moment every day because she, it could be her last day. But she's terrified that she's going to die at 56.
Wow.
So hopefully, she's not planning on it and she's not, spending all her money before then. But sometimes, we're looking at financial plans and we do some, math for you to figure out where you're at, how long that money would last you. We have some basic calculations we'll use. But people a lot of times underestimate their life expectancy. And again, as fiduciaries, we're trying to do what's best for you. Just like Sherri said, sometimes we have uncomfortable conversations because we're trying to help you. Because just like that lady, we don't want to see you spend all your money and then you live forever and then you can't even afford your own house anymore or your taxes. But people are living longer and longer, and there is no guarantee, but you really need to make sure that you've planned, that you've had, that you can cover your life till 90. And I think they say like every 5 years you live, the chances are you're going to live like even longer. So people that are 60 and 70 today are probably even highly likely to live in your 90s. So you want to be prepared. You want to talk to somebody and make sure that you're not just spending down your money and that you're going to be okay, that you could live and cover your expenses till you're 90 or 95 or maybe even 100.
If you need something fun to do today, go to the website livingto100.com and do the survey. It's absolutely free, and it will tell you how long you're projected to live. And it tells me I'm going to live to 100, which means I have another 40 years on this planet. So why would I retire now? 40 years? What would I do?
Oh, my goodness.
What would I do with myself for 40 years?
I think our listeners love all these ideas we have for their Saturday afternoons. Like, do your healthcare directives, clean out your financial cabinets, go check out your longevity period. Yes.
All right. The next story is really incredible. I didn't know about this, but there's a guy who has a program. He did have a program on WMA. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I used to listen to this show all the time when I was driving around Atlanta, back when I was in the insurance business. So the SEC, I'll read the article. That'll probably be a lot easier for you guys. The SEC is pursuing legal action against Atlanta-based advisor Chris Burns, who's been missing since September 24th and is accused of defrauding clients of millions of dollars. He's only 37 years old. I mean, I can't get over this one.
Yeah, usually the stories you hear are usually the people are older.
Right.
Scheming people.
So from at least February 2017 to September 2020, Chris Burns and his entities offered and sold $10 million in promissory notes to at least 40 investors in Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida. He allegedly advised his clients and others on an investment opportunity that he claimed was part of a peer-to-peer lending program. He falsely told investors that the business would make monthly payments to investors, including a portion of the principal plus a fixed amount of interest as high as 20%.
I guess that did sound pretty enticing.
Right? Or that the businesses would pay them a lump sum when the promissory notes matured. Contrary to Burns' statements to investors, many of whom were clients to whom who owed a fiduciary duty, Burns spent the money: $1 million lake house, boat, cars, business expenses, tens of thousands of dollars of airtime for his local radio show on WSB, which I used to listen to in Atlanta all day long driving around. I mean, if you have a show on that station, you assume that person is reputable because everybody else on that station is a reputable person. This is really, really horrific. The complaint further alleges that Burns increased his promissory note sales in recent months before it disappearing. So it was a Ponzi scheme. He had more than 90 investors impacted, millions of dollars. So then the story comes out that this was just, this is March. So this has been a year ago that he did this. So his wife has now come out and said, but the day before he left, Meredith, his wife, says, Chris did a lot of paperwork, but she didn't know what was going on because she wasn't involved or engaged. She didn't pay the bills. She had no clue about anything. He had
one of those wives that wasn't involved.
She brings a bunch of paperwork home. She signs all of it. And guess what was in the paperwork? A divorce documents. She signed it for him to divorce her.
And he was transferring all sorts of assets into her name, so they were getting out of his name. So that's just going to make her look more guilty when all this shakes out.
I mean, this whole thing is crazy. But here's the deal. The bottom line of it, somebody's going to promise you a 20% return. Wouldn't you kind of go, how can that possibly be true? Wouldn't you go do some research? Why would you give this guy $1 million to invest just based on him, who he is, and he has a radio show? I mean, you need to really...
Well, you wonder how, like, the peer-to-peer lending program, to me it sounds kind of like, it already sounds sketchy, but it sounds like difficult to explain. So you wonder how, smooth he was with that. But here's another part that says, on some occasions, he persuaded investors to meet him at a local Dunkin' Donuts so he could collect their investment in cash. So don't do that. Don't meet random people at public places and give them cash. All of our checks, any money that you give to us, it goes through our clearing company. And
the checks are made out to Pershing.
Yeah, they're not made to Sherri or Becca.
So there's a guy in Milledgeville 2 years ago that's in prison now because he was doing the same thing, and he was meeting with elderly clients, and he had them make out the checks to his financial firm's name. So if you made a check out to Rosenberg Financial Group, Steve could have deposited that into his company business bank account, and he could have taken that money, which is why you have to have a third party. There has to be a third party that you deal with, like ours is Pershing. We have management of the money, but we cannot take the money. I mean, I can't believe this is still going on. It just blows my mind.
And this guy, before he left town, he moved all the money from his business accounts into his personal accounts, and he was cleaning everything out. Just crazy. He told his wife that he was going to visit his in-laws. It took a day or two to remember, but... Oh, yeah. All right. So you've been listening to Your Money with Becca and Sherri, and you can call in today. Our number is 478-742-0940. We have offices in Macon and Warner Robins, and the main thing we do as financial advisors is to provide retirement planning advice and manage our clients' investment accounts. If you can't listen live, you can always visit our website, retirerelax.com, listen to our recordings there, and check out our special reports. We always offer complimentary consultations to help you plan for your successful retirement, and we also provide educational seminars on estate and retirement planning in the community, in a group, your employer. So call the office if you're interested in having us speak at your group meeting. The office number is 478-922-8100, and you can call that number to schedule an appointment with Sherri or I, and we'll be happy to go over all your financial questions. 478-922-8100, but wait until Monday because we're not there right now.
So, and then there's a story from this month, a guy in New York sentenced to 7 years in prison for doing a Ponzi scheme and defrauded 400 investors out of $18 million. Sold fraudulent promissory notes. I don't understand this. Please be careful what you do out there. There's crooks everywhere. This industry is not rife with crooks, but there's just a few of them that are. It's terrifying what they've done to people. Anyway,
luckily, the SEC was onto this guy.
Right.
But I found it interesting. It was back in 2017, and the guy started with this company, the one that is this main article about, and he didn't realize till later on that they were doing things wrong. Said he realized they were running a Ponzi scheme after the company stopped paying some clients the guaranteed returns. But he continued to work for the company and lied to investors, telling them their investments were safe and secure. So that was his chance to get out when he realized that things weren't quite right. But then he just kept digging in with the rest of the crooks.
Terribly sad. I hope they get their money back. So if you go to our website, retirerelax.com, you can read about what we believe. You click on the tab. If you choose to invest with someone as opposed to doing it yourself, we believe it's best to work with a person who is compensated by fees instead of commissions. Under normal circumstances, Rosenberg Financial Group believes you should avoid investing with products that have surrender charges. We believe you should immediately walk away from anyone who puts you under any type of pressure to invest. We believe you should work with someone who represents you, not some corporation. We believe you should work with someone who has a fiduciary obligation to put your interests instead of his or her own. We believe the people you are working with should disclose their conflicts of interest. We believe that any financial or estate planning should be accomplished by a certified financial planner, professional, but remember, only attorneys are authorized to dispense legal advice. We believe that any investment advice should come from a registered investment advisor. So we are under the fiduciary obligation to give you the truth and to tell you. I mean, we have had to tell people, Becca and I both, have had to sit down with people and say, you know, you're not paying a whole lot for what you're in, the account that you're in. There's nothing wrong with your portfolio, so it would cost more for you to come to us than to stay where you are, because that is the right thing to do. We have to do the right thing. We are held liable. We are responsible for that. So that's why it's safe to come to see us, because we're going to be honest with you.
So Sherri and I take our oath of being a CFP very seriously, and, you know, we care about people, and that's why we got into this business, and that's why we do what we do, because we want to see people succeed. We've had life experiences and seen other things that we can share and help people grow and do them be their best life. But we also don't want to go to jail. I don't think either one of us would do very well in jail.
Yeah, I have no interest. I'm too old for that.
Yeah, so we're going to do what's right, and we're going to stay out of jail. It's gotten us this far.
So here's this crazy story. I need you to warn your kids and your grandkids about this. I hope nobody listening out there is involved in this. So in the previous few years, a 40-year-old electrician made a series of car trade-ins. This blows my mind. Each time he received negative equity, meaning he got less money for his trade-in than the outstanding loan amount. With each trade-in, he added the shortfall to his most recent purchase. And finally, 3 trade-ins later, he had to borrow $18,000 more than the purchase price of the Cherokee just to service the negative equity. He told the Wall Street Journal that he never intended to cycle through so many vehicles. He replaced one because of high miles, switched to another when he got divorced, bought the Cherokee because of his growing family. His nightmare didn't end there, though. Within a few years, the Cherokee started having mechanical problems, and now he's looking to replace it with another vehicle.
Oh, my gosh. So there's this whole new thing. I hadn't heard of this one, but it's called kicking the trade. And I don't know if it's, you know, widespread or if it's just this 1 or 2 dealerships. But there was an example of a 63-year-old lady that needed a new car, but she couldn't get qualified on her trade because she owed too much money on it. But the dealership told her that they could get her qualified for a new car on it from another lender. So she bought a whole other vehicle.
I don't even see how that works credit-wise.
Well, if she, on paper, if she didn't have enough, like, debts on your credit report, then you could look like you're qualified. But maybe she's got a lot of, you know, other expenses that come out that aren't on the credit report. So on paper, her loan-to-value is okay. So she bought this new Nissan car, and so she has 2 vehicles, and she really couldn't afford the payments hardly on either. And so what he told her to do was, once she got the new loan, then to stop making payments on the old one, kicking the trade, and let the first lender repossess it. So she went for it. I mean, again, if you're someplace and you're at a dealership and they're giving you an idea of buy a new car and then just wait and get the other one repossessed, that's not good advice. That's horrible.
Horrible.
And then it said within a few months she couldn't even pay for the Nissan, and both of her cars ended up getting repossessed. This really goes to the subprime lending clients that, you know, I used to deal with subprime lending, and there's, you know, it's for people that, I think the technical definition is if you have a credit score of 620 or lower. So it's based on a scale from 300 to 850 of your FICO score, and if it's 620 or lower, you're considered subprime. So there's a whole world out there of people that lend to subprime people. So there's mortgage lenders, there's car dealers, and
title pawn.
Yeah, these people are going to be more risky because their score's lower, and your score's lower because you have probably had some late payments or a bankruptcy. But it's really rough to look at some of these situations because these people usually make less money. They usually, you know, haven't had some of the opportunities for education around finances. So they already maybe don't have all the best information.
They're vulnerable.
Yes, absolutely. And then the places they go aren't always the most scrupulous places, like these car dealers. But then, so not only do they make less money, but then with their lower credit scores, they're going to pay higher interest rates, and their payments are higher. And what was it said that there were some really crazy rates. Oh, so rates for subprime borrowers for car loans range anywhere from 11 to 15% for a new car and 17 to 21 for a used car. Has anybody on this radio show paid that kind of rate on a car loan? It says prime borrowers pay between 2.3 and 3.5 for a new car, and like 3 to 6 for a used car. So if you just take that difference of paying 17 to 21% for a used car versus 3 to 6% for a used car, that's huge in the payment itself.
Well, then you have the chip shortage on top of it. So the car prices are through the roof. And so people are paying more than the car's actually worth because of the chip shortage driving the price up. So they're paying more for a car with greater financing. I mean, they're getting in the hole faster. It's worse now than it's ever been.
Well, and the article was talking about a lot of people when they were home for COVID, the start of like last, summer, people were selling their cars. And even I think probably this past fall and the spring, because the used car market is so hot right now, you could sell your used car and make more money than you ever would have made on it. But then, a few months down the road, when you finally decide to go back to work, then what are you going to do? Then you buy a car. I don't think they're going to ride their bike, Sherri. I think they're going to go buy an overpriced car.
So the end of the article says, be careful if you're holding shares of subprime lenders. If you have some of these subprime lenders in your portfolio, you might want to take a look at them because they're going to crash and burn at some point because this will default. That's where this will end up. Right,
because last summer, people were getting all this money, and even, through this year with the unemployment checks being up. Well, now those have stopped. So these people that have these enlarged car payments, there's going to come a time where they're going to be able to stop paying. They're going to stop paying them because they're not working and they're not getting all these extra stimulus checks. So like she said, the subprime companies are going to struggle, and they're going to have probably a lot of losses on these loans.
Yeah. It's always something. Everything goes through a cycle. Everything is a cycle. Everything has an upside. Everything has a downside. And it all is that. And that's what we do all day long is watch for that.
Well, and, talk with your kids, your grandkids.
Yeah.
And
make sure they're not getting into this.
Right. And even just to educate them, or, maybe you aren't going to be able to offer to help them, finance anything, but at least to educate them or tell them to call us and, hey, is this a good deal?
No, tell them to go to FICO. Go look at their FICO score.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because if they go to, is it FICO.com?
I think so.
I think so, too. So if they go to the website and they log in and they look at their credit score, they can see what it is. And then the FICO will tell them what they can do to improve their credit score. And it's huge. It's extremely helpful.
We got another caller. Good morning. You're on the air with Becca and Sherri.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. The very best Sherri
wow.
and Becca this
How
morning.
Are you?
I hope y'all are doing. Oh, I'm doing okay. Listen, I got two things. The first thing I wanted to ask you about is this SGLI, and it comes from the state of Georgia, and they're just now starting to do it because they're taking money out of a 401k or a 457 plan that you have with the state.
That's life insurance, right?
I don't think so. It's part of the ERS system,
okay.
Employees Retirement System,
okay.
Because I did call them about that. It is an annuity, but it seems like it's through them, and I'm a little bit skeptical about it. But anyway, what was happening is during the pandemic, there was a lot of people losing a lot of money in their 401k and 457, so some of the retirees elected to cash out of that and get this supplemental, I'm not sure what it's called, life income. It's supplemental something life income.
Okay.
And I wanted to find out a little bit more about that, Sherri. I called somebody about it, and she was giving me some basic information saying that I could get anywhere from, you've got to do at least $25,000 out of one of the accounts. You have to do at least $25,000. Or a maximum, I think the maximum was like $300,000 that you could do it. I think it's based on your income that you get. And anyway,
what were the letters again?
SGLI. Yeah. I haven't looked at this for years, and so I can't remember any of it. So
okay.
I'll have to look it up and cover it next week.
Okay, sure. But anyway, I wanted you to see if you could check that out, Sherri. I wanted to talk to you about that maybe the next time we talk, too.
Right.
And the second thing was this. Wendy's, they're saying $1 for a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit.
Right.
Go up there and get one. So I went up there to get one, and I asked for 10 of them, and they said, we can only give you 5.
Right.
I said, you're kidding.
Because they're going to go broke.
Okay, so they can only give you 5. I said, well, can I get some honey? They said, no, we don't have any honey. I said, can I get a Frosty? No, you can't get any Frosty.
There's nobody working there. Bobby, there's nobody at work.
Well, they try to get you there so they upsell you. I'm surprised they didn't have anything else to upsell you.
Right. But anyway, they said, if you want more, you have to pay for more. I said, well, if I got 10 people at home, either they're getting a half a biscuit or they won't get a biscuit. So, just be careful about what you see on TV because they don't tell you it's only up to 5. They just tell you $1 for a biscuit. Come see us. So you have to watch what you see on TV.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's what I wanted to tell you, those two things. So,
okay.
Sherri, if you could check into that. I've got some figures on it, what they gave me.
Okay, cool.
about it. But we'll talk later. I hope you all have a great day, and thank you for doing what you all do. It means a lot to the community out here. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless, Bobby.
Have a good weekend. We got an email from one of your client friends, Jim. He said to tell you hi. And he came across an article about Part B premiums on Medicare. And so I can't click in the article right now, but we'll cover that next week and talk about it. And if you do want more information on Medicare, we'll check out this article. It's through CNBC, so it's probably pretty good, but we can send you information. So email me, Becca, Becca, at rfmoney.com if you want information on that. But we'll cover that next week as well. So thanks, Jim.
Excellent. He's so nice. Nice. We have so many nice clients. Okay, so big shocker. The number of people quitting their jobs in September increased to a high of 4.4 million, while the number of layoffs and terminations was little changed at 1.4 million. Labor force participation is just 61.9%, meaning the number of people working or looking for work is at a 45-year low.
That is just crazy.
Well, we have an aging economy. I mean, we have an aging population. I mean,
those baby boomers just don't want to go to work.
Every day, 10,000 people turn 60. And a lot of people over 60 don't want to work anymore. They don't have to work anymore. And so you have fewer people having babies. And so it's a big problem. It's a big structural problem. So here's the next great idea of getting people to come to work.
Oh, this is horrible.
Major companies are dangling an uncommon benefit to lure job candidates, a chance to get paid every day. Ever since I've seen Wendy's offer this 2 years ago, I thought this is a disaster because you have to train someone, give them a uniform, they come in and work one day and they get paid for one day and then they leave and you're out more money than you spent. I mean, you're out on this whole deal. So anyways, this is a whole different thing, though. Dozens of employers, including fast food chains, Arby's, Wendy's, Jimmy John's, Taco Bell, Big Lots, Dollar Tree, Kroger, are now giving employees the option to withdraw money from their paychecks moments after finishing their shift by using smartphone apps like Branch or Daily Pay.
So the first thought, it seems like, well, that might be nice in an emergency situation, but I think it's going to be overused.
Such apps are essentially software add-ons to existing payroll systems like ADP. Employees can download the app on their iPhone or Android device and log in using a company-provided email or phone number. The app shows workers by the hour how much cash they've earned by the hour.
Or they're just going to sit there and watch their little, graph go up and, wait till it hits $50 and take it all out.
So their shift progresses throughout the workday and allows them to transfer their wages to a connected bank account with a touch of a button. Taxes and any pay garnishments are automatically taken out before a user can tap the funds. Daily Pay is free to the company, but for the employee, guess what? They get charged $2.99 to access their wages on the same day they receive them. They charge $1.99 if they wait a day, and Branch charges $4.99 depending on how much money an employee transfers. What if you're in there every day doing this?
Well, it kind of goes back to the subprime clients that we were talking about earlier. These are people that are struggling already, and so, with this daily pay, it might really help if they need some gas to get to work or, they're short on groceries. But then if they're doing it every day or every other day and they're getting charged $2 or $3 at a time, that's going to add up. That's a whole nother, little meal or something for them.
Here's where I think it really blows up. So a couple weeks ago, we talked about the whole buy now, pay later trend. Everybody's getting into buy now, pay later. Can't afford your Nikes? Hey, make 4 equal payments over 6 or 8 weeks to, every 2 weeks make a payment on your Nikes so you can have the Nikes you want. Well, now you can take the money right out of your employer and do buy now, pay later. I think this is a disaster.
Well, it said they were using it as a recruitment tool for people in nursing homes because they were having a hard time getting people into nursing homes. And so I could understand maybe a certain area if that could be a good benefit. But I was shocked by this. They said Intently Care began offering daily pay in August, and nurses have been giving overwhelmingly positive feedback. Nurses, these people have degrees. These people should be making decent money. Right. So among 30,000 nurses, about 21,000 use the paid daily option regularly. 70% use it regularly. I mean, I wonder what they consider regularly. But as a nurse, come see us. Get educated. You don't need to pull money out of your paycheck before you even get your paycheck. Learn how to budget. People just need to learn how to budget and have a plan.
So if you go to our website, retirerelax.com, there is a special report called Can I Afford to Retire? And one of the things in that report is a tracking sheet. And I know this is old school. You think it's dumb. You think I'm dumb when I say it. But I'm telling you the truth. If you physically writing down what you spend every day really gets it in your brain. So there's a sheet in there. It's a budget sheet, and you put on, it's different categories, and you put it on the counter, and every day you write down what you spent. Went to the grocery store, went to the drugstore, went to whatever store. You write it down. After about 2 weeks of writing down every single thing that you spend, all of a sudden you become more conscious of your spending, and you start making better choices. And I've been doing this for 30 years. So what we do, we set goals in December, and then in January we track our spending. And we take a hard look at it and determine, are we getting sloppy? Are we getting sloppy somewhere where we shouldn't be doing what we're doing? Because this is something that is a life-changing thing to do, because once you know exactly what you're spending and where it's going, then you can make actual plans of what to do with extra money and plan a trip, plan a vacation, plan something and use cash and not have debt. You want to be debt-free, and you want to have control over where your money goes. So retirerelax.com, Can I Afford to Retire, spending tracker, follow the instructions, and it will help you stay out of this trap of having to pull money out of your paycheck early and borrow money from a subprime lender and all of this garbage that we're talking about, which no one needs to go there.
I think we need to come up with like a budget boot camp, and I think you should be able to like nominate people. So like, maybe if you have a family member that's not so good, you can like send them, like you give an invitation and say, here, I've nominated you to go to this boot camp. Because people need help. And like Sherri said, there's a great the special report on our website. There's also some videos under the financial planning tab on cash flow and digging out of debt. So if you do have people in your life that are struggling with that, there's some videos about that with some ideas on how to get out of debt. And, we'll be happy to talk to them. That's not our specialty, but we definitely, have been through a lot with a lot of people, and we'd be happy to talk to any of your loved ones that are struggling with that.
And there's one thing that now I feel like is the time to mention it. So I spent 10 years at Consumer Credit Counseling Service in Atlanta. I was the vice president of counseling and education. I did educational seminars on budgeting, finance for years, all those years. And I learned a lot from it. Well, they have morphed into Green Path Financial because the nonprofits, each standalone nonprofit just became so expensive to run the business that they combined entities. So they are now Green Path. So here's what they can do. And I had a lady call just last week, and I referred her. So she's overextended in debt. She's barely making her debt payments. So she can't make any progress. She can't get out of debt because all she's doing is servicing the debt. And what Green Path does is they have prearranged agreements with creditors of reducing interest and reducing payments. And so what we could do is we could just type the person's debts into our computer, and it would show them, if you came with us through a financial plan, we could get you out of debt usually in 3 years, debt-free.
It's awesome. It's much better than a consolidation loan. Because, but it's because they're working with all those individual creditors, they're going to get you a better deal. And so and then when you're on that payment program, hopefully you're less likely to spend, and most of the time you aren't able to take out new credit while you're in the program. So
it does affect your credit. It's not as bad as a bankruptcy. But the other thing is that the lady I talked to a couple of weeks ago, it sounds to me like she's going to need to file bankruptcy. They do pre-bankruptcy counseling. And so if you're in that situation, you have to have a letter from them to file bankruptcy. You can't just file anymore. You have to have gone through counseling to have the proof that you need a bankruptcy. So Green Path Financial website, just Google it. They're on you can talk to a counselor by phone, and it's a great organization.
Very good. Well, we are almost done for the day. We're in our last couple minutes, so should we go over our closing thing?
Yeah, go for it.
You've been listening to Becca and Sherri with Rosenberg Financial Group. We've told them 3 times that we have offices in Macon and Warner Robins. The main things we do is provide retirement planning advice and manage your investment accounts. We've talked about, we have all these shows on the website, so if you go to retirerelax.com, you can always listen to past shows. We need to work at getting where we have some of the topics covered, because if you just have to pick a date and wonder what's on there, and it may be really interesting or it may not be interesting to you. But not every, but a big chunk of our shows for the last several years are all there on our website. So you can listen to them. We have people that drive around, like FedEx drivers that are bored during the day, so they can sit and listen to our Saturday shows just all throughout the week. We also have the special reports. Sherri mentioned a couple of them. We have complimentary consultations to help you plan for your successful retirement, and we provide educational seminars into the community. So call us if you want to have us come talk to your group, or if you want to come meet with us, 478-922-8100. Our website's retirerelax.com.
We actually have 2 programs we're doing in January. I'm so excited to actually do a live program in front of a bunch of people.
I have one I'm doing at the end of November, but it's a webinar.
Yay.
But still.
But no, we love doing that. We love educating people. We love helping people. That's why we are here. It's not just about us making money. It's like we want to make a difference in people's lives, and we love what we do, and we're passionate about it. So, yeah, give us a call. If we can help anybody in your family, refer them to us, retirerelax.com, Becca at rfmoney.com, and with that, we have a couple more seconds, it looks like.
We're waiting for our little our song that plays. Oh, there
Yay.
it is. Have a great weekend.
Yay.
The views expressed on the show should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities or services mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risk, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should only be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Securities are offered through Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services are offered through Rosenberg Financial Group, a registered investor advisor not affiliated with Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated. Offices are located at 2517 Moody Road, Warner Robins, and 4875 Riverside Drive, Suite 201 in Macon. Phone numbers are 922-8100 and 741-4457.